There are many ways to talk about history. The best way, in my opinion, is through music. Songs can really capture the energy of their time. So I've chosen here 11 great songs that through them you can learn about the well-known and lesser-known periods of the history of Israel. Israel was established in 1948, but the truth is that in 1948 they've only cut the ribbon of a project that has already come to fruition. The Yishuv is the Jews that live in the land of Israel before Israel was established, had already built all the structures that are needed: health system, education system, army, political system. In modern time, the first wave of immigration, of Aliyah Rishona, was in 1882, with Jews coming from Eastern Europe and Yemen. In the second Aliyah wave, there were a group of about 2,000 men and women who came with a passion for socialism. They didn't just want to build a new Jewish country, but also to create a new Jewish man, to build an utopian society. One of their creation was the kibbutz, the communal village. The band that is most associated with the kibbutzim is the Gevatron from kibbutz Geva. And this song, Malu Asameinu bar, our barns are full of grain, was written in 1933 to the Jewish holiday Sukkot, also known as the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, I still don't know how I'm going to edit this video. I think that I will play 30 seconds of each song and I will add translation. I will just say that it is my own translation and I'm no Shakespeare. I'm just the son of Woody Harrelson. The State of Israel was established during a war, Independence War. 6,000 people died, 1/3 were civilians. Therefore, it is not surprising that many of the first songs that were written in Israel were about the war. This song, Hareut, the friendship, was written about friendship during wartime. In Israel, we had a war about every decade in 48, 56, 67, 67 till 70, 73, 82, and 2006. And the wars had a huge impact on the Israeli society and its music. Now, I'm not 100% sure I'm right in saying this, but I think that Israel is the only country, or one of the only countries, that has this genre of Memorial Day songs, sad songs that were written from the 30s till present day about the wars, about individuals that fell in the wars. And these songs are mainly played during Memorial Day. Hareut, the song is sung by Shoshana Damari, one of Israel's most popular singers when the country was in its infancy. The first years of Israel were characterized by shortages and massive wave immigration, aliyot, of Jews from Arab countries, but it took decades for the mainstream Israeli music to be influenced by more Eastern style of music. In the first year, Israel was very socialist, and the Russians were seen as the one that won World War II and liberated Auschwitz, and so there was an influence of Russian songs. In the beginning of the 50s, the anti-Semitic side of the communists was exposed when there were trials against Jews in Eastern European puppet states. This in return led to a love affair between Israel and France. a love affair that continued throughout the 50s and the 60s. The relationship ended in 1967 in the Six-Day War, when the French decided to stop support Israel. Big mistake. Big mistake. Anyway, like all long, meaningful relationships, there are some songs that remind us of our time together. Many chansonim were translated to Hebrew. This one, If Birds Ilu Tziporim, is a very known song, and it is here performed by the Nahal band, a military band. In Israel, up until the 80s, 90s, many of the singers started their way in a military band. This song was also featured in a very known Israeli movie from 1978 called Haleaka.
אשר עפות מעל הים, אילו ציפורים היו דוברות כבני אדם, אילו סיפורים היו ודאי הציפורים על הארצות אשר מעבר להרים.
For each period of time in this video, I could have chosen a dozen of other songs, but there is one song that had to be here. It was written by Naomi Shemer, the greatest Israeli songwriter, both before and after the most important event that happened in Israel, the Six-Day War. The song Jerusalem of Gold, Yerushalim Shel Zahav, was first played 3 weeks before the war, and another verse was added after the war. The Six-Day War changed everything in all respects. Israel became to be from a teeny tiny country to a very small country. The main political issue from 67 till today is what should Israel do with the land in Sinai, the Golan Heights, and Judea and Samaria, aka the West Bank. The Arabs understood that they couldn't destroy Israel in one quick war and look for other ways to eliminate Israel. The Israeli society became more religious. This war just changed everything. How Israel is seen by Israelis, the Arabs, and the rest of the world. The album Jerusalem of Gold was the best sold album in Israel. There wasn't a home in Israel in 1968 without this record. Rock came late to Israel. There is a story which is only 85% true that the Beatles could have performed in Israel, but the Israeli parliament didn't allow it, saying that they are a negative influence on young people. The first pop rock band was החלונות הגבוהים, the High Windows, founded by Arik Einstein, Josie Katz, and Shmulik Kraus. Now, Arik Einstein is by far the biggest, the best, the most important Israeli singer of all time. The band started to perform a couple of weeks before the Six-Day War and had only released one album. Now, after Jerusalem of Gold, I cannot just play a pop song, so I will play a song from the album, which is not so poppy, which is called Hatishma Koli, Will You Hear My Voice? It was written by Rachel המשוררת, Rachel the poet, and in a way it is connected to the previous song, as both Rachel המשוררת and Naomi Shemer were from Kinneret, and they are buried next to one another. And by the way, you can also see Rachel on the 20 shekel bill.
Hatishma Koli, rechoki Sheli, Hatishma Koli, ba'asher hincha, kol kore be'oz, kol boche bidvi, u'me'al
The three most important events in the 70s were the Yom Kippur War in 73, the Mahapach, I will talk about it in a minute, and the peace treaty with Egypt. The Yom Kippur War was the biggest trauma of Israel. It had changed how Israelis view the government. Long story short, we stopped believing the politicians. Kaveret, which was composed of ex-military band members and others, was the first band to bring electric guitars to the forefront. They also wrote funny nonsense songs that didn't have the patriotic flavor that many other Israeli songs had. They also wrote their own lyrics, which was also a new thing. Until then, most songs were written by poets, then brought to a composer, then to an arranger who chose a singer. This song, Natati la Chayai, I Gave Her My Life, was the Israeli entry to the Eurovision in 1974.
עוד בימים הראשונים של ההיסטוריה, כשהעולם היה קיים רק בתיאוריה, ולא הבדילו בין מחר שלשום ואמש, היו רבים איפה כדאי לשים את השמש, אך דבר אחד הוסכם, אם עקשן הבן אדם, אין סיכוי, אין פיצוי, זה מה שקרה, נתתי לחיים.
Israel had never been accepted by its neighbors and had always seen itself as closer to the Western European democracies and not the Arab dictatorships. Since 1973, Israel participated in the Eurovision Song Contest. Now, listening to most of the songs today is sometimes a bit more than embarrassing, but in the 70s, the Eurovision was very important in Israel. In 1978, Israel won for the first time, but because the Israeli television didn't buy enough satellite broadcast time, the broadcast was cut off a couple of minutes before Israel was declared the winner. The following year, the contest was in Jerusalem, and the song Hallelujah was chosen to be the national entry. The problem with the song was that it was longer than the rules allowed, so Kobi Oshrat, the conductor and composer, made a shorter version. However, because the contest was in Israel and all the players in the orchestra were Israelis, he agreed with them that if the song would win, they will play the longer version, and this is exactly what they did.
Hallelujah, ישירו כולם, במילה אחת בודדה, הלב מלא בהמון תודה, והולם גם הוא איזה עולם נפלא. הללויה עם השיר, הללויה על יום
In 1977 came the political upheaval of the Mahapach. For the first time, Menachem Begin, a right-wing leader, was elected. From the 20s until 1977, the Labour Party, the Workers' Party, was in power, first in the Yishuv and then in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. The election of Menachem Begin symbolized more than anything the rise of other voices in the Israeli society. When it came to music, these other voices were singers that were influenced by Arab and Eastern music styles. Zohar Argov is not the first, but definitely the biggest and most important of them. The song Haperach Begani, The Flower in My Garden, was one of his biggest hits. Avihu Medina the writer and composer of the song, is one of those who is responsible for opening up and broadening the Israeli music to other genres. During the 80s, the Israeli society was divided. The Lebanon War, which started in 82 and lasted up until 2000, was for the Israeli society what the Vietnam War was for the US society. Economical speaking, Israel started to move from a market-concentrated economy to a capitalist economy, which led to a financial crisis. The musicians responded in going back to their parents' root, meaning more music that is influenced by Hasidic, Yemenite, Arab, as well as Israeli oldies. The song Imni Nalu by Ofra Chaza became an international hit. I will play a very old version where the audio is not really that great, but if you listen to her songs, you'd better sit down first, just listen to her voice. Israeli rock was never really anti-establishment. I think that it has more to do with the personality of the singers. Aviv Geffen, which became very famous in the beginning of the 90s, was the first mainstream singer that had long hair, makeup, and sang about depression and the fucked up generation we are. And like in all good stories, there is a family subtext. Aviv Geffen comes from the Dayan family. A lot of artists, politicians, and army generals have come out of this family, the best known being Moshe Dayan. His songs tend, of course, to be more associated with the left side of the political spectrum and with the big events of the 90s, the Oslo Agreement, and the murder of Yitzhak Rabin, the Israeli Prime Minister, in 1995. The song Achshav Meunan, It Is Now Cloudy, was one of his biggest hits. I think that what defines my generation, I was born in 82, is that Israel caught up to the rest of the world. When we were kids, then everybody drove Subaru. There was no phone in our house until 87. Now, most houses in Israel did have phone by the end of the 70s, but my village, Karmei Yosef, was new and we didn't have a phone for 3 years. There was only one TV channel until 93 and only like 2-3 radio stations, and there was no McDonald's. It wasn't easy growing up without McDonald's. And in the 90s, Israel caught up with the rest of the world. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Both, I guess. And so the last song on my list will be one of Ninette Tayeb. She was the first one to win the reality show Kochav Nolad, A Star is Born, which is the Israeli version of American Idol. That's it. I will leave a link to a playlist with all of the songs I've talked about. See you in the next video. Yalla bye. Wait! If you enjoyed this video, and I think that you probably did, seeing as you just spent 20 minutes watching it, then please consider purchasing my booklets or posters. The coronavirus had hit me very hard financially, and the only way for me to keep on making this video is with your support. All the links will be below the video, and back to Ninette.